For many reasons, working in Qatar is an attractive alternative. The country's strong economy draws foreign investors due to numerous foreign corporations opening branch offices there. Foreign residents now have additional employment chances. There are numerous companies that offer job opportunities to foreign nationals, as well as government visa-sponsored occupations that you can simply locate many of these opportunities with great salaries and benefits even online through third-party companies with licenses from Qatar Labor Ministry that they recruit foreign workers for Qatari and non-Qatari companies. The tourism sector has grown remarkably with the tourism authorities' assistance. Many expats have found work that allows them to enjoy the country's beautiful beaches, subtropical climates, and desert landscape. The recent changes to the labor law have also been characterized by flexibility in defending all rights of the two working parties, have made the issue of residency and work permits in the state of Qatar straightforward and quicker than the past. The labor law, which is enforced by the Ministry of Labor and Social Affairs, sets the guidelines for employee recruitment. A residence status visa and a work visa are necessary for anyone who wants to work in Qatar to do so legally. The company hiring workers serves as the worker's local sponsor and schedules the required appointments to get the visa and permission. However, you still need to know many rules and documentation procedures that you will find them explained in this video. So stay tuned until the end of the video. Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for watching. My name is Ahmad Zan here in Persia Global. We help those who are in search of better opportunities to work, live, or study abroad. In today's video, I'm going to share Qatar work and residence permit, long and short-term visas, seasonal, holiday, and government-sponsored job visas, different types of Qatar residence permit, documents and procedures required to apply for them. And in the last part of the video, you will find how you can get a Qatari citizenship. Research by One Qatari Network found that 94 different nationalities live in Qatar, with workers from India, Bangladesh, Nepal, and Egypt being the most common. A total of 40,000 US expats and 22,000 UK expats lives there. Expats moving to Qatar often work in the chemical, gas, and petroleum sectors, which may come as little surprise given that oil and gas account for more than half of the Qatar GDP. The majority of expats moving to Qatar find a role either through international recruitment agencies or within their own companies. However, businesses in Qatar must prove there are no unemployed Qatari nationals who could fill a position before it can be offered to a foreign national. For Qatar work visa, the documentation required to get this permit on behalf of said expat is normally handled by the employer. An expatriate's company will apply for a temporary visa when they initially arrive in Qatar. This temporary visa is eventually modified to a work residency permit, a procedure that normally takes 2 to 4 weeks but can occasionally take longer. Recently, there are some labor reform updates that have made Qatar more appealing country in addition to good salary and benefits foreign workers gain by working in this country. All workers in Qatar without any discrimination are entitled to receive a minimum wage of 1,000 Qatari riyals per month with an additional 500 for accommodation expenses and 300 Qatari riyals per month for food. There's also establishment of Qatar visa centers or QVCs that will allow for an accelerated recruitment process in India, Sri Lanka, Indonesia, Nepal, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Philippines, and Tunisia. So for the above mentioned countries, the procedure of visa issuance is much easier than other nationalities who want to work in Qatar. For those nationalities who can enter Qatar without entry or tourist visa, They can only enter for leisure activities, but they still can search for jobs, as Qatar has no job seeker visa like UAE or some other countries with the same job opportunities. Check visitqatar.com with a link below to see if you need an entry visa and what documents, bank statement or requisites you need before traveling. Nationals of eligible countries that are now consisting of 95 countries do not require any prior entry visa arrangements and can obtain an entry visa waiver upon arrival to Qatar. However, remember that you can only do job searches via tourist visa, and Qatar work permits remain the sole requisite to work in Qatar. Aside from a tourist visa, all of the visas that I explained in the following can be used to apply for a work permit in Qatar. You can also classify them as different types of Qatar work visas that non-immigrants in Qatar and foreign citizens seeking to travel to Qatar may do so using these visas, including business visas, temporary and permanent work visas, visas for family and Gulf Cooperation Council citizens residence visas, or GCC residence permit. The first step in gaining a work permit in Qatar is that after you find a job in Qatar, check also some links for job searches below our video. Anyone wishing to work in the country must first obtain a work permit, sometimes known as an RP. Your Qatari employer will handle the application on your behalf. Your employer should arrange a temporary visa which allows you to enter Qatar while you wait for your work residence permit. This process can take up to 4 weeks. Once you receive the work permit, you can begin to start your life in Qatar. At this point, you may find a place to live in the country and access government services. The Ministry of Labor issues work permits, and your employer must renew your work permit each year. A work permit will contain a host of information about your residency status in the country. It will include your name, nationality, and passport number, as well as specific details such as the type and duration of the permit, the expiry date, your profession, and the name of your sponsor. In addition to the work permit, there are other types of visas available for expats traveling to the country, like family residence visa. Once you have got your residence permit, you can sponsor your immediate family members to live in Qatar with you. Each family member will need to have an individual family residence visa. As part of the process, you must submit documents including marriage and birth certificates and proof of your employment. You can either apply at the Foreign Ministry or online through the Qatari government's portal. You can purchase family residence visas for anything from 1 to 5 years. The fee is currently 200 Qatari riyals. Another visa you can enter Qatar is a business visa. Qatar business visas are for employees working in Qatar for a short period of time. Only government approved companies may sponsor under this visa. Business visas are valid for 2 weeks, but this can be extended to 4 weeks. If you want to work beyond this time, you will need a work visa. A business visa currently costs 200 Qatari riyals. The next is Qatar temporary work visa. Qatar temporary work visas are arranged by your employer. They are valid for a short-term employment between 1 to 3 months. However, this is the most common with employees intending to work for a business in Qatar for a set amount of time. In the rest of the video, I also explained a seasonal short-term visa or work and holiday visa too. To get a visa, whether it is a short-term or long-term visa, you will need to have an employment contract in place which has been approved by the Ministry of Labor. You need to exclusively work for the company during the period in question and leave the country once the job has been completed. As with issuance of a work visa, you must undergo medical tests and fingerprinting. The cost of this visa is currently 200 Qatari riyals. GCC resident visa is for residents of the countries in the Gulf Cooperation Council or GCC who work in an approved profession, and they can gain a 1-month visa through a Qatari embassy. This can be renewed for a further 3 months. To get a GCC visa, you will need to be a national of Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, or Oman. Permits for working women is another important rule you should consider if you're going to work in Qatar. Women living in Qatar with a family residence visa must gain approval from her husband to register to work. This can usually be done without needing to apply for a separate work permit. So let's see what are the requirements to obtain both Qatar short and long-term work visas. As I said earlier, foreign employees will need a work permit as well as a residence permit before they can begin employment in Qatar. The following documents are necessary in applying for a work permit. The first document you need is an employment contract. The biggest Qatar employment compliance law is your employment contract. You must be hired under an employment contract in the local language. Per law, contracts must include the nature and a type of work, place of work, contract, a starting date and duration, and compensation information. I also recommend including benefits, termination, entitlement terms, and more to make sure there is no confusion. Any compensation, salary, or bonus amounts in an offer letter or employment contract need to be in Qatari rial instead of another currency. Once hired, the standard work week in Qatar is 40 hours, reduced to 36 weekly hours during Ramadan. Workers should receive at least 24 hours of rest per week, typically taken on Friday. Overtime is permitted up to 2 hours per day and must be paid at a rate of at least 125% of standard pay. Another document for work visa is a duly completed application form from the Ministry of Labor, a medical certificate proving that the employee is in good health, a copy of the employer's passport, 2 passport photographs, any relevant educational certificates, the immigration card of the employer, the employment visa, biometrics including fingerprints. Also, to obtain a residence permit, the applicant will need to provide the following documents: a valid passport, 2 passport photographs of the employee, the employment visa, a copy of the company's commercial registration, a copy of the business immigration card, and the employee's medical certificate. Application process for work visa is a relatively complex process. Procedures to apply for a Qatar work visa is somewhat complicated. Your business must register with the Ministry of Interior's Immigration Department in order to start the procedure. They must finish this procedure before submitting an application for a work permit. The business can then submit an application for a batch of work permits on behalf of every expatriate they want to hire. They can further submit an application for employment visas for each employee when the work permits are approved. Employees can leave for Qatar after receiving their work visas. Also, your employer must submit an application for the employee's residence permit no later than 7 days after the person arrives. The employee can begin working for the company in Qatar after they have obtained their residency permit. There are also some other requirements and conditions for Qatar temporary employment, like seasonal jobs or work and holiday visa, that for obtaining this type of visa, which is for short-term contracts in Qatar, and they need short-term work permits, the majority of the following conditions must be satisfied. You have the necessary permission to work. At no point will you work for longer than 6 months. Your employer complies specifically with the regulations for employing people for seasonal work, your travel costs covered, and when the seasonal employment agreement expires, you will return to your home country. What can you do with a Qatari work and holiday visa or the short-term work permit is that the individuals can start working in Qatar after the temporary permit granted. The individual is only permitted to work for one company in Qatar for the set duration of the permission. Depending on the circumstances, permits can also be renewed as well, and as I mentioned, it could not be more than 6 months. For both types of work permits, either short or long term, there are other important things to know before applying for a work permit in Qatar. The organization hiring you should make sure the employees are informed that they must always have their ID and any necessary visas with them. Your company may be inspected by labor regulators who will require that employees present these papers. Additionally, businesses should inform their staff that they will require an exit visa to leave Qatar. Employer consent is required to attain this authorization from the Interior Ministry. In most cases, if you are applying for government-sponsored jobs, necessary experience is needed to prove and submit to qualify for a government sponsorship visa. A number of steps must be finished before you can receive sponsorship from the Qatari government. Firstly, you must acquire the necessary certifications before submitting your candidacy for a government recruiting position in Qatar. For example, for medical jobs, you need different certifications approved and regulated by the Health Ministry and other government bodies. Secondly, you will also need to get the required and additional health and background checks. And also in certified profession, you may be required to have a clean criminal history depending on the type of job you're applying for. The last point I'm going to cover in this video is mainly based on a frequently asked question of the possibility to get Qatar citizenship through naturalization. Foreigners may be given citizenship if they qualify by decree of the Emir, providing the general conditions. You should prove legal continuous residence in Qatar for 25 years with less than 2 months of absence approval made per calendar year. Legal income and means of living, good reputation and character, and no beliefs relating to virtue or honor of the someone. And practical knowledge of the Arabic language is required. Well, that's all for today. Thanks for tuning in and watching this video. You can also find other work and residence permit videos from other countries in our channel. Learn how to apply for different work and residency permits, documentation, and check your eligibility criteria by subscribing to Persia Global and following comprehensive, clear, and step-by-step instructions in our videos. Here's a famous quote of this video, comes from Vivian Green. It says, "Life isn't about waiting for the storm to pass. It is about learning to dance in the rain." Until next video, have a good time. Over and out.